It's that time again. What time, you may be asking? Time to create with this month's Paper Pumpkin card kit in the mail. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I received this month's kit and I opened it up and saw just the little preview on the outside of the instructions, it wasn't my favorite. Let's say that. It wasn't my favorite. Now that I have opened it up, created it, and used all the pieces and parts, it is actually one of my favorite kits I have used in quite a while. Do you have craft supplies, or do you ever get a kit or something like that that you don't just love automatically? I really encourage you to get those things out and create with them. I feel like as a crafter, I grow when I use products that aren't naturally my favorite, and this is one of them. Let's get started and take a look at this really cute kit. This month's kit is called Sending Good Thoughts, and here you can see this is the preview I was talking about when I opened up the kit, and I just see the little preview, I guess, the photos of what the cards are for in the instructions. Now, I just have to say, in photos, it is so hard to appreciate handmade cards. And this is a perfect example, because even when I created these exact same cards, I just love the way they turned out, but in these photos, it just didn't really appeal to me as much as a lot of the kits do, which is okay. We all have different styles, and I'm sure for some of you, you probably love this kit automatically, and that's great. But what matters for me, I guess, is that after I created with it, I really enjoyed it. So if you have any of those kits laying around that you're like, oh, it's just not my favorite, I really encourage you to get them out and use them, because after you create it with them, it's very possible you will feel differently. So what I got in this month's kit, it was enough materials for 9 cards. Here are the envelopes. I always love the pretty envelopes that come with these kits. We had lots of die cuts. Here are the few I had left. I used most of them. Comes with adhesives. We got a sheet of dimensionals. Bermuda Bay was the ink color of the month. Twine, and all of the fixings for these cute projects. So first, I'll share with you the 3 cards I created, just how they were shown in the instructions, and then I'm going to show a lot of alternatives that I came up with that you can create if you want to do something a little bit different than what was shown in the instructions. So here's the first card that was on the instructions for the kit. It uses the really pretty background. I love the background pieces for these cards. They're actually embossed, so there's a raised texture there along with the different color variation in the background. And then the banner piece that is hanging down, I stamped the texture onto the corners and stamped the little message in the bottle and the greeting and put it all together. But I just love, I don't want to overuse the word texture today, but I just love all of the texture and the color and the dimension to this card in particular. Now let me show you the stamp set. Here is what we got in this month's stamp set. We have the ship, and that's actually, I'll be honest, that is actually what I didn't love when I first saw this, but after seeing it, I think this is really neat. It's perfect for cards for men. So we have the ship, the little texture stamp. I love texture stamps. There's so many ways you can use them, and you'll see some of those on my projects here in a little bit. Seahorse, seaweed, the message in bottle, the little rolled up paper, which would be perfect for graduation cards, could be a diploma. And then we have starfish and several greetings. Wishing you all the best, thinking of you, can't wait to see you. And this other one says, sending good thoughts. So this was the first card. Here's the second one, the ship in the bottle, which, like I said, this would be perfect as a masculine card with the seagulls. And I used the greeting that says sending good thoughts. I think the one on the instructions said to use the greeting that said, can't wait to see you. But of course, we use the ones that we think we'll use more often. I wasn't sure I would use that, so I used this one that says sending good thoughts. It could be a birthday card, it could be a thinking of you card, it could be just because. And then here is the third one. And again, I just love, we have the texture and the color and all these detailed little pieces and parts. I just think it turned out so cute. And let me show you this compared to the photo. So, you know, you look at the photo, it's kind of like, you just can't really tell. But then when you see it all put together, then it's so much different. So this one was pretty simple. I stamped the texture on the starfish. I stamped the greeting here. I did stamp the seaweed onto the bottle and tied the little twine around the neck of the bottle and attached everything together. So if you want to, if you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, you can create these cards the way they are shown. If you want some alternative ideas, let me share a few with you here. Here is one. I used one of those background pieces. I trimmed it down so that it doesn't take up the whole front of the card anymore. I used one of those banners, stamped some seaweed on it, stamped a little message in the bottle and the greeting, added the starfish, and just layered those on top of each other. I really like the look of all these layers and the different pieces. So I continued that with that card. Here is another one with that bottle. This was the one I actually created very last after I created I did several scrapbook pages. I'll show them to you. And all the other cards, I was looking at these pieces like, okay, now what do I do with these? And this was the card I created. So I stamped the seaweed and the starfish and the seahorses onto the bottle, stamped the greeting, and I cut this piece, the clouds, from the top of the piece that has the waves on it. I didn't really point that out, but I'm going to bring it back in and show it to you. So on this one, can you see that texture with the clouds and the waves? That is embossed onto that paper. So for some of these, I cut those pieces down into smaller pieces, put that up here on the top, and added my other pieces to it. Here is one. I used that stamp that I said I didn't love at first and added the seagulls, and I trimmed that piece in the background into panels. This is something I really enjoy doing on cards that adds just something a little bit extra. I trimmed it at 1 3/4 inches and then I trimmed another strip off that was 1 3/4 inches, attached those to my background, and then added these pieces to the front. And I have one more card before we get to my scrapbook pages, and it is right here. I debated whether to add a greeting to this, and I decided I just loved it the way it was. I left the bottle the way it was. I put those 2 strips in the background of the piece that was embossed with the waves, added all the different pieces and layers and the die cuts with some of that linen thread that came in the set, and I decided I just really loved it the way it is without a greeting. So I could put my greeting on the inside, of course. Now I have 2 scrapbook pages I want to share with you. I used several of the die cuts on these, and this is the first one. So it's hard to see all of this at once. If you want to see photos of these, there'll be a link in the video description below. Go to my website and see all the photos if you want to see a picture of this. But my idea with this was to add white here that looks kind of like foam or waves on the top of the ocean, so that we have the sky up here and underwater down here. That was the idea. I don't know if it comes across that way, but I had the seagulls up here at the top. I used one of my card bases and cut it in half to be my photo mats. And then down here at the bottom, I thought this turned out really cute. I stamped some of the seaweed in the background, and I used that texture stamp down here at the bottom to look like sand. And then we have the coral and the seahorses, and I trimmed the coral into 2 pieces, used just a little bit over here, stamped on the bottle there, and I used that texture stamp that I used down here for the sand. I used it right here with some white ink to look like bubbles coming from the seahorses. So that was my first scrapbook page, and I have one more. This is the second one, and my inspiration for this one actually came from one of the cards. I'll grab it here, and I really liked this card. I would never ever in a million years design this card myself, but I love the way it looks. And I decided to take the look and turn it into a scrapbook page. So to create these horizontal lines, what I did, I grabbed one of my blends markers, and I created lines in the background. And if you just stare at the lines, they probably don't look awesome. But what I tell myself a lot of times when I'm creating and I don't really love the way something on my project is looking is once I get it all done and put together, I'm probably never going to notice that one little thing. So that's how I feel about this. So I have those lines in the background, which are mostly covered up. You can see a few down here. Then I wanted to create the look of the coral or seaweed. I'm not sure what it is, but it's purple, so I'm not sure what to call it. So I used the seaweed stamp and I created some large versions of this in the background that I stamped. Then I just added some of these die cuts. I stamped the seaweed onto the bottle. I trimmed, this was one of the pieces for the background of this card right here. I trimmed it into some smaller sections and added them here in a few different places and added little bits of twine, which I thought were nice, and the little texture stamps in the background. So that was my other scrapbook page. So I hope this gives you some ideas for how to use this kit if you received it. If you do not subscribe to Paper Pumpkin and you're interested in it, I'd really encourage you to try it for a month or a few months. Right now, you can actually purchase a 3-month subscription and get a free celebration item as a free gift. We have stamp sets to choose from, paper packs to choose from, all kinds of fun things that you can get free right now if you try out Paper Pumpkin for 3 months. So click on the video description below. I'll have information about how to subscribe. These kits only cost about $23 a month, which is a really great value for everything you get included. Your stamp set, your ink pad, and all of the pieces and parts you can use just like they're shown in the instructions or in lots of different ways. Thanks so much for watching along. I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you'll be back again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.